For many people of my age, Blackpool Pleasure Beach holds a special place in their hearts. Long before modern theme parks, the likes of Thorpe Park or Legoland or Disneyland Paris were even thought of, Pleasure Beach, Blackpool, was a mecca. It was the place we looked forward to going. It was probably our first exposure to large rides and a real sense of place. That's me at the top right, back in the 1980s. With my family, we came almost every year, and this is my children on the rides about 15 years ago. We continue to go. We love it. Again, me with my oldest son many years ago. It holds many happy memories, but it's living on faded glory. Blackpool Pleasure Beach seems to delude itself that the Pleasure Beach is now an amazing place that can compete with the rest of the world. And if you look at these theme park awards, you'd be fooled into feeling that they must be right. But so many of these elements just seem to be missing on our recent visit. Supposedly, Blackpool Pleasure Beach ranks in the trip top 10 of places to visit. And supposedly, the 8th best theme park in the world. It even claims to be competing with the likes of Disney's worldwide locations. Well, I've been to Disney's worldwide locations, and I'm afraid that statement is just a joke. Walt Disney has nothing to worry about from Blackpool Pleasure Beach. When we visited Disney a few years ago, when it opened, everything was open. This was virtually the only ride that was going when the park opened the morning we went in August. We could wait half an hour to queue up for Alice in Wonderland, which is in itself a rather strange ride, or we could go on the Gallopers. And so many other elements just were closed for hours. Look at the state of this. This is underneath the Alice in Wonderland ride. Weeds, there are nails sticking out of other rides, there's litter everywhere. Nothing's been painted in years. Chewing gum on floors. There is chipped paintwork everywhere. Chewing gum seemingly holding windows in place. And just a sense of neglect. Why would I want to see years old chewing gum like an old slug hanging from the wall? This is one of their best rides, the Avalanche. We went on it 5 times on a recent visit. Look at the litter in this bin. And yes, that is the foot of a member of staff at the top of the picture. And speaking of things being looked after, this supposed jewel in the crown of Blackpool Pleasure Beach, the famous laughing man that was saved from a fire. It was even in the news that they saved it. And yet, it was broken. However, they were still taking money. Yes, I am pointing at the slot. They were still taking money from people. We saw several people stick money into this machine. It wasn't working. And there are so many closed rides. Everywhere we looked, there were rides which were just abandoned, closed, not open to the public anymore. And this seemed to be an ongoing thing. I didn't get a picture of the River Caves, a classic old ride which has been closed all year. No one seems to know why. And unlike Disney, who they claim to be competing with, Disney screen things off. They sort of hide it up. There are the reminders around of the park's former glories, the log flume boats, which we rode on many times as children. But think about their new rides or newer rides. Valhalla, an award-winning ride, but it doesn't open till 1:30. And then it broke, but no one told us when we were in the queue. Not one member of staff had the good manners to come down the line and say, the ride has broken, it is closed for the day. We stood there and waited. Only when I spoke to someone else in the queue, other people who'd been queuing up, that they'd heard from someone at the front that it had closed. There is a complete lack of regard for visitors. The same thing happened on Grand National. We were queuing up with friends. Me and my son managed to get in to one of the ride vehicles, did our ride. It slammed to a halt at the very end, and no actual apology for, sorry, there's something gone wrong with your vehicle. Then everybody who was about to go on the ride next was just turned away and told, ride's closed. No, we're really sorry. No voucher or code or something to say you are going to get to front of line on another ride. If you're competing with the likes of Disney, Universal, then you need to start providing the services that they do. Even at Legoland, if you're in a queue and that ride closes, they give you a voucher which gives you a queue jump or queue cut or whatever to get you at the front of the line for another ride. There are simply not enough staff around. You very rarely walk past anybody who is emptying a bin. Rides seem to take forever to get on because there are not enough staff doing the loading and unloading. There's so much still about this park which is almost amazing. But look, I had to get some donuts. They were great. That was my lunch. Why? Because there was a 45-minute queue to get fish and chips because there were 2 staff there. There was just as long a wait for quite basic rides. Blue Flyer claimed it had a 15-minute wait. Friends of ours waited 40 minutes. Why? Because there was 1 member of staff dealing with everything. As we said, it's unkempt. The figurehead, the thing that made the news when it was saved, just isn't looked after, and it's ripping people off. What does it say about Blackpool Pleasure Beach? That you stick money in a slot of something like that, and it just takes your money and doesn't work. Nickelodeon Streak, the old roller coaster ride, which is in a licensing deal with Nickelodeon. Well, it's a nice ride actually. We enjoy it. It's quite fast, but it's not looked after. The orange must have been painted 10, 15 years ago. As you can see, it's fading. It hasn't seen a lick of paint in years. It just looks a mess. Why would I want to queue up for something where there's a nail sticking out? Why would I want to queue up somewhere where there's just litter and weeds and grass and years worth of filth? They've spent a lot of money on beautifying parts, but it's completely inconsistent. This area looks pretty. There's nothing here. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to see. It's opposite the Wallace and Gromit ride, which is in itself a great little ride. It used to be called the Mine Train. That photo at the beginning was me and my family outside there. And it's been turned into Wallace and Gromit, and it's a great ride. I really do think it's good. But where are the smiles here? The park used to be famous for its smiley sun logo. But the smiles are missing. I don't think a single member of staff spoke to us other than to say, sit there, move forward. Comparing yourself again to Disney, where the Disney cast members, as they're called, smile at you, ask you how your day's been, ask where you've come from. They just want to look into what other parks are doing. Blackpool Pleasure Beach are going to be blown away when Universal Studios move to the UK. Because, again, the ethos within these parks isn't just about putting a few beautifying things in. It's about giving people a 360-degree, 24/7 experience, which doesn't close at 5:30, which is when we were kicked out. And why were we being kicked out? Was it to do maintenance? Clearly not. There seems to be a sense at Blackpool Pleasure Beach that everything is geared to just doing the minimum. Lovely little beautified areas right near the ghost train, which again, nice little ride. One little jump scare got me going. But everything seems to be geared to just get you out of the park. They've got your money, now go home. Why? Where is the care? Where is the love? This place holds so many happy memories for so many people. Yet being nominated for a few awards seems to have made them believe that they don't have to do anything else. And the competition is coming. Universal Studios is there, building a new park in Bedfordshire. How are they going to compete with this? Easily. They will smile, they will put on great rides, they will keep the place looking clean. Disney has no competition. Look at this is one evening in one park. An evening in Blackpool Pleasure Beach is impossible. unless you go on one of the special days, 4 or 5 days a year, where they let you stay in the evening. Do they do anything special then? I don't know. But if you want to stay for the ice show, that seems to be their number one concern. Get you out of the park so they can get the people in to watch an ice show. But the park itself, living on faded glory. Will I go again? I can't see myself doing it, to be honest. It just lacks so much. Do I want to see an ice show? No, I don't. I never did in the 70s and 80s when we used to go. Let's put the smile back on this guy's face. It needs new ideas urgently.